So we went on a cruise.
We did, and we survived. It didn't sink.
It did not sink. That's good news.
It was a Disney cruise on the Treasure, which we had not been on before,
No,
and we had a good time. It was 7 nights.
it was 7 nights. It was wonderful.
We saw some shows. We got some sunshine,
Oh, lots of sunshine.
generated some vitamin D the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, it felt great.
Yeah.
It felt great. And then we didn't come back. I mean, we returned home,
Yes,
but we didn't come back to YouTube.
that's right.
And we also have since had our 2-year anniversary,
Our YouTube
our
versary.
YouTube-versary. Yeah.
Oh,
that
we
was-
didn't mark that very well, did we?
No, we did not. That was just a couple days ago.
Well, a lot's changed because we dropped a word from our channel name.
Now, we did that before we went on the cruise.
We did, but nobody noticed, as far as I can tell.
YouTube threw us in the basement.
Yeah, YouTube
but-
did not like it when we did that and stopped showing our videos to anybody.
Yeah.
So unless you were a really loyal viewer, you didn't see the most recent ones
No.
at all.
No.
But the word we dropped was not JJ or Eric. We
No.
dropped the word carnivore off the title of the channel. And that was really because I could no longer, in good conscience, say that we were a carnivore channel. Because one, we were doing non-carnivore content like JJ's Fearless Living Wheel of Fear stuff that we had been talking about.
Mhm.
But also, I had been adding some carbs for a while. And then eventually one day I was like, I can't even call this carnivore because it isn't true.
Yeah. Now, we talked about that in one video where we talked about meat being the center of the pyramid.
That's
or
right.
The center of the pyramid. No.
Mix your metaphors,
The center of the target, the bullseye,
right?
and the different levels outside of that
Yeah,
meat-based thing.
right, exactly.
Hmm.
And so, we had dairy through the yogurt and stuff, which some people don't consider carnivore, some do. I had been adding avocado for a while, which is clearly not carnivore.
And ferments we'd added for,
Yeah.
like, beyond the yogurt, we'd been eating
Right.
sauerkraut, and you've had kimchi for
Yeah.
a while.
But
Yeah.
but I probably would have been okay staying carnivore because the kimchi and the yogurt was really about the microbes.
Mhm.
And microbes are little animals, right?
Yeah.
But I'm no longer anything even remotely close to carnivore in my eating patterns. And we needed a little break to kind of absorb kind of the new paradigm and think through what this channel even means
Well,
going
and
forward.
new paradigm is not even a word, the right phrasing, I don't think, because I don't think your paradigm is set.
Right. I'm shifting into different experiments, maybe,
Yeah.
but much, much higher carb, actually more of a focus on carbs. And that has been a weird adjustment and has not been without some difficulty. But I think it's important to explain why. If you're a longtime viewer, you know that I've talked about my triglycerides very frequently, and they never really responded to carnivore the way that one would expect. Despite having very, very low fasting insulin, eating no carbs, my triglycerides stayed high. Now, many people would come back and say, well, that's just where they need to be. And I don't believe that. I don't agree with that. And I wasn't comfortable with it. But if that had been the only thing, and I had had the energy that JJ did, and had the cognitive focus that she did, maybe I would have been okay with sustaining that. But there was even more that I didn't talk about very much. I had been having on and off sort of neuropathy in my toes for a while. And I had gotten that when I had taken a statin years and years ago. But it had kind of come back and I was a little concerned about it. And I was thinking it was probably an electrolyte issue. And then I had a return of these muscle twitches in one leg, which I had experienced on and off since my 30s. So I knew it wasn't some fell disease, but it was really, really annoying. And then I started to have a little bit of just a sense of instability and weakness in one leg.
We're heading into the end of the year, into a new year.
Mm.
Some of the life coaching stuff I've done, if you are interested in getting your word for the year or your intention for the year, go ahead and put intention in the comments, and if there's enough interest, we might do a video dedicated on sort of setting yourself up for your next year 2026 focus.
And I had also experienced that in the past, but maybe not quite to this degree. And as I tried to push potassium and magnesium and sodium and all the balance, it became very clear to me that I could not retain any of it. It didn't matter how many packs of salty or element that I drank, I could not retain those electrolytes. And I had strong fatigue, very little motivation, uh, brain fog constantly. And I was like, okay, the thing that's supposed to work here is ketones. And so we've done a lot of work. We did a lot of sardine fasting,
Mhm.
and you got amazing ketone results, and you felt amazing
Mhm.
on ketones.
Yeah.
I eventually was able to get my ketones kind of revved up, but it didn't do anything. The only time the ketones were beneficial to me was when I would take exogenous ketones and really bump up the level.
Mhm.
And I really felt like I ran out of road. I could not go higher fat or lower carb. And it was clear to me that I needed to just experiment with some other things. And so I decided to try to add in some more carbs and see what happened. And the effects for me were dramatic and very quick. Um, a definite return of energy and motivation to do things. The muscle instability, weakness vanished completely. And as a matter of fact, I noticed that just the sense of strength walking around dramatically improved. And then the neuropathy dropped. Not completely gone. It's a little hit or miss day to day. But I mean, the fact that it can not be there and then be there tells me there's no underlying physiological damage or nerve damage that's permanent. There's just something metabolic going on there that's not completely resolved. So that really led me down this path to carb reintroduction, which has been interesting because I have this history of IBS
Yes, it
and
has.
that um, all of the old GI difficulties did come back.
Mhm.
Although I seem to be on an improved kind of mode from that right now. I don't have the reflux, but the abdominal distension from carbs is just ridiculous. Um, but I just think that that must be a microbiome problem that I've got to figure out. And I actually had restarted the SIBO yogurt,
Mhm.
and that really did seem to dramatically help very quickly. So we'll see. I'll keep going on that. But to give you a frame of reference, I don't know where I'm going to land in terms of what foods I'm going to end up eating. Right now, it's a lot of lean steak and chicken breast. Although I don't really love eating the chicken breast because I'm not getting these pastured chickens because it's winter, and I suppose we could find some somewhere.
Hmm.
Um, and then sweet potato. And I had been having rice, but that caused me a lot of problems. And then just things like orange juice, which is just crazy to me. Um, but the way I feel today is not maybe the best day, but I've had days where I couldn't even believe the things I did
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to have any energy. It must be kind of how you felt this whole time running on ketones.
Yeah.
But I never could.
Yeah, it feels like, we've both been doing a lot of research and study into this, and, um, for for my background really quickly, I got my blood labs after my intense therapeutic ketone 3 months of really working on that, and, oh my gosh, my labs looked beautiful except and I don't have them here to refer to, but my lipid panels were awful. And, that includes what? You're probably more versed in this
Well,
than I
it's
am.
all the LDLs, HDLs, VLDLs,
Yes, yes,
trigs, the fractional ones, the small LDLs, the
yes,
pattern A, pattern B thing.
awful. trending worse. And again, I'm not too worried about LDL, but everything as a system, things were not good. And my reverse T3 was extremely high too, showing sort of going into the uh, stress
It's
mode,
a very high stress
high
response.
stress response. So here's my current understanding of that is that I seem to have my liver is showing reductive stress patterns, period. That's the big thing. Too much fat, basically. And I know Maria Emmerich and Craig Emmerich talk about fat flux. And basically, the last 3 months, my fat flux has been off. I've had way too much fat to keep me in that deep therapeutic ketosis that I love so much. You seem to also have a problem with liver reductive stress in that how your lipids have responded, have never responded.
Never. Yeah, it
So
was always a disaster.
be a reductive, again, you look that up on your own, reductive liver stress issue. So we both seem to have that. But then you have that second layer of that mitochondrial energy issue as well.
Yeah.
So you're needing to sort of figure out both of those issues. And so, how do you not get the backup of fat that causes the higher trigs and the higher VLDLs and everything? And how do you resolve this energy issue and heal that energy issue? I feel like I'm good. Like I said, all my labs were good except for those pieces, the reverse T3. So I'm working on lowering my fat and figuring out whether some pulses of carbs here and there might help. Yeah, I don't know where I'm at. I'm still very committed to making sure I get enough meat in my diet and also preserving some metabolic flexibility at this point where I can use ketones.
Hmm.
But I'm not looking at high therapeutic ketosis at this moment. So we're both, yeah, in this sort of experimental phase.
So what does this say about what any of you should do? Nothing.
Nothing.
I think that keto carnivore is an amazing protocol, and it has obviously helped many, many people resolve issues.
Yeah.
If you're doing that and you feel great and you're satisfied with your blood markers, don't change anything,
Mm-mm.
in my opinion. I just never got there.
Mm-mm.
I lost 35 pounds. I was able to keep it off without effort. But I could not get the energy. I could not. And then these new neurological things started to show up, and that was terrifying. You know, someone with health anxiety, that's not a fun place to be, where you're like walking around going, I think I might fall over because my right leg doesn't seem to have the strength that it should. Um, and then to have such a dramatic turnaround on that, it really seems like it might have been just I could not get potassium into the cells or something. I don't really know the mechanism, but the fact that it resolves so quickly with the introduction of carbs is telling me that there was no combination of just protein and fat that was going to resolve that problem.
You've tried all
And
the
it
combinations.
may be, I've talked a lot about, maybe I just don't respond with much insulin to protein. That's a kind of one of my working theories, but I don't really know. But very clearly, I was in constant sort of fat overload.
Mhm.
I've learned so much more about metabolism the past month than I ever knew before. And I thought I knew, kind of how the insulin resistance kind of thing worked. I don't think I understood it really, truly at all. I didn't understand that it was fundamentally a fat problem and not a sugar problem. And that's a mental model that us low carbers, the way we think about it, but it really is a fat problem, not a sugar problem fundamentally. And I know I've watched, I think Zane Griggs talks about this pretty well. It's like, he says it's like trying to fix a overflowing sink by turning off the faucet rather than, removing the clog that's in the drain. And I think that's a pretty good mental frame for thinking about how the insulin resistance actually works.
I was thinking though, if you're insulin resistant, not you, if a person is insulin resistant, do you think the understanding things through the sugar, the glucose model works for that
Well, it
phase?
obviously works because people reverse their type 2
Yeah.
diabetes that way constantly.
Yeah. But you're not neither one of us
I
at this
had
point.
massive physiological insulin resistance, which means that my lipolysis, actually moving fat from fat stores into the bloodstream, would not turn off because you need insulin levels to shut that off. And it would not turn it off, which meant that if I wasn't using that for energy, my liver repackages that into VLDL
Mhm.
and all of the downstream particles. But it also means that my mitochondria were constantly inundated. The powerhouses of the cells were constantly inundated with these free fatty acids. And it turns out that in the long run reduces certain aspects of glucose metabolism. And then you can't burn the glucose effectively, even when you have it.
Mhm.
And my body responded with making more with the liver. And so gluconeogenesis was, always kind of on because I wasn't eating carbs. And I was starting to develop higher and higher blood sugars, which I didn't like.
Yeah.
So I'm a unusual
Hmm.
case in the broader discussion, but I'm not that rare, I don't think.
Mhm. Yeah.
But that's the mechanisms, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but I think what happened is I did carnivore, and then I needed to come out that it was not indicated for me anymore. And where my carb intake will settle out, I don't know, because it'll be a constellation of how I feel in terms of my mental energy, my physical energy, my sleep, my recovery from exercise. And then, I'll be looking at the blood labs to see if I see a correction. I actually should see trigs go down on this paradigm of very low fat. And when I'm saying low fat, I'm saying right now, 20% of my calories from fat. So pretty low. Um, and then I will titrate that up over time as I dial it in, but I'm still adapting to this. So it's kind of interesting. I had the CGM in because you get afraid of carbs after a while, and I've been watching my blood sugar spike. It's like, oh, my blood sugar went above 120. It went to 150,
Mhm.
and then it came right back down, which is what it's supposed to do.
Mhm.
Um, I will say that if you come from an insulin resistance and you start to get better blood sugar control through low carb, obviously that's a positive. I don't think I was ever really that insulin resistant in the past. And then I went low carb and I ended up with this kind of obverse problem.
I was gonna say for me that, I'm trying to keep all the gains I've gotten and then work on this isolated lipids/T3 issue. So yeah, so I don't know what that looks like either, except for right now, it looks like definitely lower fat
Mhm.
for me.
So what am I not eating?
What are you
This is really important because you might think, well, I never was a moderator in terms of eating carbs.
Mhm.
Well, fats that are baked, fats that are baked, sweets that are baked are high fat and they're full of sugar, right?
Mhm.
So those are not on the menu.
Mm-mm.
So I have to pretty much resort to whole foods.
What about chips?
No, because they're
No.
fried in fats.
Mm.
And I have actually become a little bit more skeptical of seed oils through this process, although I don't feel like I have any special expertise on that. It just seems like maybe probably shouldn't eat those things.
Well, there's a theory that it contributes to the reductive stress of the
Yeah.
liver. So again, that's the fat processing.
There's lots of theories
Yeah.
that make a lot of sense. And I think most carnivores are very suspicious of seed
Yeah.
oils too, just because of the manufacturing processes doesn't sound like food in the end. But I think what the realization for me is that the things that I thought of as being carbs aren't just carbs. They're carbs with a heavy load of fat. And dietary fat and carbs in the wrong proportion is a disaster. And they're delicious and habitual. You don't ever stop eating them. And I found that eating I've had bananas. I've had orange juice. I've actually made some fruit smoothies, which has been kind of astonishing to me.
Mhm.
And there is a limit to how much of it I want. But the post sort of absorption hunger does come back, but it doesn't make me really feel like I want to binge on
I was
anything
gonna say,
necessarily.
would you say there are cravings per se?
No, no. Well, I have a lot of sweetness in this model right now, and I don't feel like I'm denied any.
Mhm.
So that's not a problem.
Now, what's interesting that comes from carnivore, though, you've mentioned, is that you are like, sometimes you're like, I need to make sure I'm getting enough protein. I need a sirloin steak today or
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
Yeah, because I'm trying to get somewhere between zero point 0.6 and zero point 0.8 grams of protein per pound of lean mass, um, which isn't hard to do. It's a chicken breast and a sirloin steak get me there pretty easily. But I was relying on chicken breast early because I was really trying to get the fat low. Um, and I noticed one day I was like, I need actual food. I need like a steak, and it made it made a difference because the chicken breast isn't complete. Not all of the aminos are in it, so you've got to have some red meat to get it. And
oh, and we had pork.
poik, we had some poik.
Pork tenderloin too. Yeah,
Yeah.
you ate on that quite a bit.
And I will say that having eaten so much red meat for so long in such a volume where I never really loved it, it's nice to have it occasionally. I have gained some weight during this period of time. Some of that happened during the cruise. I did not go crazy on the cruise at all. When you eat carbs and you start storing muscle glycogen again, that brings in water with it. So, yeah, I'm up 10 pounds, but right now I feel great compared to how I felt before.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick with it. I think that we had a prediction on one of our episodes before the cruise. I said that, this time next year, I'll be 175 pounds and 15% body fat. I'm sticking with that.
Ah,
I think that's going to be a reasonable goal.
excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. I will say on our cruise, it was a Disney cruise. If you are a mostly meat eater, it was easy.
Mm.
Oh my goodness. The newer ships have those little food stands. They all have the counter service food, but the newer ships have the barbecue place and like the Mexican.
It's like a fake Qdoba.
Yeah, Qdoba, so you can get, like, bowls of meat, and if you want a little guac or something in there, you can get that. So there was and then the grill, of
Yeah.
course, was easy. But, yeah, it was super easy to eat a lot of meat on that cruise, and I was really pleased with that.
The food overall was great. And, going into it in the weeks ahead, I wasn't thinking about abandoning carnivore.
Mm-mm.
But by the time we went on the cruise, I had made up my mind that I was going to start upping my carbs. And so I viewed potatoes and rice as on the menu. And so I ate them, and you don't get huge heaping servings of them
No.
on the cruise. And so I would eat those, and it would be good. And then all of a sudden my body would explode.
It
But
was ridiculous.
the best food on the Treasure, I thought, was in the Coco themed restaurant, which is a Disney movie I've never seen
Mhm.
about the Day of the Dead or
Mhm.
something,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like a performance thing. So they have mariachi band there. The characters from the movie, I guess. And there was a chicken mole that was unreal. It was so good. And I immediately searched, how do you make a mole sauce? And then I looked at the results and I said, that's too hard. I rucked for an hour yesterday. I did a kettlebell workout just before this, got 7.5 hours of sleep last night.
Mhm.
I think things are looking up.
Nice, nice.
So for those who are wondering where we were,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course.
Thanks for sending us a message of concern.
Mhm.
That's where we were.
Mhm.
So if you're a dedicated carnivore, you're probably not going to get huge dedicated carnivore content
at this moment.
at this moment. So with that,
Every day stronger.
every day more blessed.